I never thought a digital document could rip my world apart, but there it was, a PDF attachment on an email titled, "Let's handle this like adults." I was stationed overseas, halfway through a brutal desert deployment, when the message arrived. After 15 years of marriage, that's how Anna chose to end it, through email. 3 sentences. That's all it took to unravel nearly 2 decades. She'd already filed the divorce paperwork. She'd already cleaned out our joint savings. And worst of all, she'd already moved in her new friend, Todd, into our home in Asheville. My home. The one I renovated with my bare hands before my last deployment. I stared at the screen in stunned silence. Then, without a word, I closed my laptop, walked across the dirt-packed floor of our temporary barracks, and took a long, silent shower under lukewarm water. I didn't cry. Didn't punch a wall. I just stood there, letting the water slide off my face like it could somehow rinse away the betrayal. That night, I opened my laptop again and replied with one word. Noted. That was it. My bunkmate, Garza, noticed something was off. "You alright, Coop?" he asked, flipping through a worn deck of cards. "Yeah," I lied. "Just some family stuff." He didn't press. We were all used to leaving pieces of our lives back home burning while we marched through the desert like ghosts. The truth was, I had seen the signs. 6 months before deployment, Anna had grown distant, first emotionally, then physically. She stopped asking about my day. Started joining new gym classes but never seemed to break a sweat. Her phone was always face down. Always locked. Then came the new friends I'd never met. The late shifts at the vet clinic. The sudden interest in me time. I didn't snoop. I didn't accuse. I'm not built that way. My dad taught me to keep my emotions in check and to never make a move unless I was certain. So, I made preparations, quietly. I rented a small storage unit on the edge of town. Moved in all my irreplaceables, my mother's rosary, the deed to our home, thankfully still under my name due to my veteran loan, my old high school championship ring, and some cash I'd quietly saved from side contracts. I also diverted a portion of my military pay to a new bank account. Not enough for Anna to notice, but enough to keep me from starting over broke. When she hugged me at the airport before I left for my 6th tour, I already knew her heart was gone. She said, "Be safe, okay?" like she was talking to a barista heading into a storm, not her husband going to war. Still, I hoped I was wrong. I wasn't. 2 weeks after her email, I got another punch to the gut, a bank notification in the middle of chow time. Anna had pulled $92,000 from our accounts in multiple transfers over a span of 2 weeks. I hadn't even realized she had access to that much. I excused myself, headed for the satellite phone station, and spent 2 hours making international calls. Turned out she'd been gradually moving money the moment I deployed. Microtransfers at first, then bold withdrawals. Every traceable. Every legal, unless I proved fraud. That night, back at my cot, I logged into the home security system I'd installed 2 years prior. Anna had probably forgotten it still uploaded footage to my cloud. I sat frozen watching a stranger in my kitchen. My dog, Boomer, wagging his tail like this guy belonged. My Seahawk hoodie on his back. My coffee mug in his hand. And Anna, laughing. In my house. That I built. That I paid for. That I bled for. Something in me shifted. Not rage. Not heartbreak. Focus. The kind of focus that comes when you've been trained to operate under fire. I'd led missions in Syria. Disarmed explosives in the dark. Pulled brothers out of collapsed buildings. I knew how to move without making a sound. This wasn't just betrayal. It was war. A different kind. I pulled out a notepad and began writing a list. Call Trent, old squad buddy turned lawyer. Check Virginia loan terms. Contact my supervisor about emergency leave. Review refinancing documents Anna had mentioned, in passing, last year. change all my military pension passwords. And then I wrote the last line in block letters. Make them regret it. 2 weeks later, I was stateside, earlier than planned. Technically, I took compassionate leave due to a family emergency. My CO didn't ask too many questions. He just gave me a long look and said, "Handle your business, Cooper. Come back when your head's clear." I arrived in Asheville at 3:07 a.m. The house was dark. A newer model SUV sat in the driveway, definitely not mine. I parked 2 blocks down and approached on foot. Years of training made me instinctively quiet, even though I wasn't breaking any laws. At least not yet. The spare key Anna had once hidden under the 3rd flower pot was still there. She was sloppy like that, never much of a details person. I didn't go inside. Not yet. I just stood there on the porch, listening to my own breath and Boomer's faint barking from inside. I missed that dog like hell. I left without being seen. This wasn't the night. First, I had to finish setting the board. I moved into a small apartment across town using an alias, a trick I'd learned during Black Ops training when we needed to avoid paper trails. My friend Trent, now a family attorney, met me at a dive bar 2 nights later. "She took everything?" he asked, looking over the documents I'd printed. "Not quite," I said. "I moved most of the important stuff out before I left." Trent leaned in. "You want to play this clean or dirty?" I didn't hesitate. "Clean. But if she fights, we go scorched earth." He smirked. "You always did like contingency plans." Over the next month, I built mine. First, I had Trent file a stay of sale on the house, citing military deployment and property ownership. Because my name was still on the deed and I had no signed agreement releasing it, Anna couldn't legally sell the house or move ownership, no matter how many power of attorney papers she claimed I signed. I hadn't. Next, I contacted Boomer's vet. I had proof the dog was mine before the marriage. Since Boomer was chipped under my name, I could legally reclaim him. That would come later. Then came the account audit. I worked with a forensic accountant to go through every withdrawal Anna had made. Most of it was used to pay off Todd's debts, gambling, mostly. A few flashy purchases, too, a new flat screen, a gaming chair, a ridiculous espresso machine. I made a full financial report, then sent a copy to Anna's email with a short subject line. "Divorce hearing evidence, thought you should prepare." She didn't reply. I didn't need her to. Because the next move came from her. 1 week later, she filed a restraining order. Claimed I had returned from duty unstable and potentially dangerous. That I made threats. That she feared for her safety. It didn't stick. I hadn't even spoken to her since landing. But I knew why she did it. She wanted full control of the house until the divorce settled. Unfortunately for her, I had military documentation showing I was out of state the entire time she claimed I was harassing her. The judge dismissed the petition without even calling me in. That's when she started to unravel. Anna started sending emotional texts. "You used to love me, why are you doing this? Todd is good to me, he treats me better than you ever did. And my personal favorite, you're just bitter because I moved on." I didn't respond. Instead, I sent Trent another file, one I'd been quietly gathering for weeks. It was a compilation of Todd's activity. Turns out, Todd wasn't just a deadbeat. He had a criminal record. 2 DUIs. 1 assault charge. And a current bench warrant in another state. All verifiable. Trent nodded when I handed him the file. "You want to drop this into court?" "Not yet," I said. "Let her think she's winning." Because here's the thing Anna didn't realize, I wasn't fighting her in the courtroom. I was fighting her in the real world, where actions had lasting consequences. The next phase came quietly. I contacted her landlord, the one who owned the little duplex she'd planned to move into with Todd once the house sold. I posed as a potential buyer, asking about tenants and their creditworthiness. Turns out, Anna had already bragged she was receiving a large divorce settlement soon, and had pre-spent that money. I made sure the landlord got an anonymous tip about her financial instability. Her lease offer was revoked the next week. With no house to move to and her plan to sell ours stalled, Anna had to scramble. But that was just the beginning. I used my connections in the vet community to find Boomer a temporary home, one where I could legally retrieve him during a visitation hearing. Anna had no idea she was about to lose the dog too. That's when I made my final pre-court move. I paid off the last bit of the mortgage. Quietly. Efficiently. And because I had documentation proving it came from my pre-marriage savings, I could claim full ownership of the home if the judge approved my financial separation claim. Then, I waited. Waited for her world to shrink. For Todd's debts to catch up. For the lies she'd told to twist back around her neck like a rope. And it worked. One Tuesday afternoon, as I sipped coffee on the patio of a local cafe near the courthouse, I saw them, Anna and Todd, arguing in the parking lot. She was crying. He was yelling. I smiled. Checkmate was close. The court date finally arrived. It wasn't dramatic, not the way TV shows make it seem. No slamming of gavels, no gasps from the gallery. Just a quiet room, fluorescent lighting, and the low hum of a ceiling fan as a tired judge glanced between stacks of documents. Anna sat on the far end of the courtroom. Todd was nowhere in sight. I wore my dress blues. Not because I wanted to impress anyone, but because it reminded me who I was. What I'd given. And what I refused to lose. Anna's lawyer opened strong, trying to paint me as abandoning the marriage during deployment, claiming emotional neglect, and that Anna had to rebuild her life with someone who was present. My lawyer, a calm woman named Elise, didn't flinch. She simply slid a folder toward the judge and said, "Your Honor, my client remained faithfully married while serving overseas. He sent money regularly. He's made no legal missteps." Meanwhile, his wife emptied their joint savings, moved in another man, and attempted to sell marital property under false pretenses. Furthermore, she paused. This other man has multiple criminal charges pending and currently lives in the marital residence. I submit documentation, including police records and financial statements. The judge raised his eyebrows slightly. Anna's face turned red. Her lawyer tried to object, saying the personal life of her partner was irrelevant. But it wasn't. Not to the court. Not when it concerned the welfare of assets and future decisions, especially Boomer. Then came the topic of the house. Anna claimed it was community property, that she had just as much right to it as I did. Elise nodded. That would be true, except Mr. Cooper purchased the home 4 years before the marriage, and continued to pay off the remaining balance during his deployment using funds from his separate, premarital account. Here are the wire transfer receipts and bank logs. The judge flipped through the pages. Then sighed. Given the evidence, the house is no longer considered a shared asset. It remains Mr. Cooper's. That was the first crack in Anna's armor. Her fingers gripped the edge of her chair. But the next blow hit harder. Boomer. Anna insisted she was the dog's primary caretaker. That Boomer was closer to her, and that separating them would be cruel. Elise didn't argue. She just played a video. It was from my GoPro, recorded years earlier. Me and Boomer at the lake. Him chasing sticks, leaping into the water. Wagging his tail like mad. Then it cut to me and Boomer at the base. Him in a custom-fit service dog vest. Soldiers passing him, laughing, throwing treats. The final clip was me kissing Boomer's head before deployment, telling him, "I'll be back, buddy. Take care of Mom till I return." Silence filled the courtroom. The judge glanced at Anna. "Did you ever register the dog in your name?" She hesitated. "No, but... Did you pay for his medical care?" "Well... Is your name on any of the vet files?" "No." He turned to Elise. "Ownership remains with Mr. Cooper." Boom. Another crack in Anna's mask. When the judge handed down the preliminary ruling, it was clean and final. The house remained mine. Anna was ordered to vacate within 30 days. Boomer was to be returned immediately. No spousal support. Assets frozen until final divorce hearing. Outside the courtroom, Anna caught up to me. Her tone wasn't angry, it was desperate. "You're really going to take everything? After all we had?" I stared at her. "You took everything the moment you moved him in." She blinked. Then whispered, "You were never around." I shook my head slowly. "And yet, you were never alone." She didn't have a response. Boomer barked from the back seat of my car, tail wagging against the window. I opened the door, let him out. He charged toward me, tail going wild, jumping up into my arms. Anna looked like she might collapse. But I didn't gloat. I just walked away, Boomer at my side. But that wasn't the end. Because Todd had his own reckoning coming. A few weeks after the courtroom victory, I moved back into the house. It didn't feel like home. The walls were the same color, but the air had changed. It smelled like someone else's cologne. There were still sticky rings on the counter from someone's cheap whiskey. A broken cabinet door in the kitchen. Scratches on the hardwood floors from furniture that wasn't mine. Boomer didn't run around wagging his tail like he used to. He walked room to room, sniffing the corners like he was trying to figure out where everything went wrong. I didn't sleep in the master bedroom. Not yet. I set up camp in the guest room for a few nights, just until I had the strength to face whatever emotional landmine Anna and Todd left behind in that bed. That weekend, I took on the house like a deployment assignment. I scrubbed the floors. Repainted the walls. Took down every frame Anna ever hung and burned them in a backyard fire pit. I even installed a new deadbolt on the front door. But cleaning the house didn't clean out the memories. That's when I decided to go after Todd. Not with fists. With paperwork. I had done some digging. Quietly. Methodically. Todd wasn't just some random gym rat. He had a record. 2 DUIs. A restraining order from a previous girlfriend. A lawsuit pending from an old business partner. But what really caught my attention was his fake LLC, a bogus landscaping company he used to write off business expenses that were actually nights out and personal shopping trips. Anna had been funneling money into it during my deployment. I contacted Trent, my military buddy turned lawyer. "Can I press charges?" I asked. "For what?" he replied. "Being a piece of garbage?" I laughed for the first time in weeks. "No. Financial fraud. Wire transfer manipulation. Anything." Trent looked into it. And found gold. Anna had authorized Todd to access our joint savings under the guise of home repairs. But the records showed transfers made to the LLC's name on dates matching purchases of expensive electronics, 2 plane tickets to Cancun, and even a $2,000 cash withdrawal labeled as vehicle maintenance. We submitted the findings to the district attorney. A quiet investigation began. A few months later, Todd was arrested at his job, publicly, on charges of fraudulent financial activity and theft by deception. I wasn't there to see it. But a friend who still worked in city admin texted me the mugshot. He looked confused. Hair messy. Eyes wide. I saved the picture. Not to post online. Just to remind myself, justice doesn't always scream. Sometimes, it whispers. Meanwhile, Anna's world was crumbling. She'd been evicted from the house. Her name had been tied to the fraudulent transfers, which meant she wasn't just the betrayed wife, she was now an accomplice. She tried calling me. Once. Twice. Then sent a letter. It was handwritten. 5 pages. She apologized. Claimed Todd manipulated her. Said she never meant to hurt me. Asked if we could talk, maybe meet one last time, to get closure. I didn't respond. Not out of hatred. Out of peace. Because for the first time in years, I had it. One night, I stood in the backyard with Boomer sitting next to me, sipping a beer as the sun dipped behind the pine trees. The breeze smelled like fresh paint and clean earth. The new lawn was growing back. I'd replaced every dead plant, every broken fixture, every trace of her. And that's when I saw it. A car pulling slowly down the street. Anna's. She didn't stop. Just slowed. She looked out the window. Our eyes met for half a second. She looked older. Tired. Lost. Then she drove away. And just like that, the chapter closed itself. But there was still one last page left to turn. 3 months after Todd's arrest, the final court hearing took place. Anna didn't show up. Her attorney came alone, somber-faced and quiet. He handed over a signed document. It was a full settlement agreement. No contest. She'd forfeited any claim to remaining assets, waived alimony, and accepted all financial liability related to the fraudulent transfers. No apology. Just a signature. The judge asked if I had anything to say before the case was closed. I looked down at my folded hands, then up at the judge. No, Your Honor. I'm ready to move on. And I was. Because by then, I'd built something better. Not a new relationship, not yet. But a life. I'd started volunteering at a local vet center. Helping guys like me get back on their feet. Boomer came with me sometimes. He'd sit in the circle during group therapy and rest his head on someone's knee like he knew who needed comfort. I fixed up the house. Not just repairs, transformations. I knocked down the wall between the kitchen and living room, opened up the space. Replaced the old bedroom furniture. Hung new frames on the wall, pictures of my unit, Boomer at the lake, a photo of my parents I found buried in an old album. Every inch of the house now told my story, not hers. Then one day, a letter came in the mail. Handwritten envelope. No return address. It was from Anna's mom. I hesitated, but opened it. Inside was a short note. I'm sorry for what my daughter did. You didn't deserve that. I raised her better, but sometimes people lose their way. I hope you find peace and love again. Thank you for taking care of Boomer. He always loved you more than anyone. I stared at the letter for a long time. Then folded it, slid it into a drawer. Forgiveness didn't come easy. But it came. Eventually. A year later, I was sitting at the lake again. The same one from the old video. Boomer chased a stick into the water, splashing and barking like a puppy. I laughed, a real, full laugh, and realized I hadn't thought about Anna or Todd in weeks. They were ghosts now. Faded names in a past life. But I wasn't haunted anymore. I had survived. Rebuilt. Moved on. That was the best revenge. Not watching them fall. But watching myself rise.